So, favorite Muay Thai fight of yours or someone else?
My favorite fight that I've watched live would be, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to say Diego Cortez versus Chase Brooks in Florida.
Yes. That was the 2 counts, right?
Yes. Yeah, where they did the double knockdown, right? That was, so 8 seconds in, Diego dropped him with an elbow, and then like 10 seconds later, they dropped each other with an elbow, and that was like the opening 30 seconds of the fight. And then they just went at it for every second of the rest of the fight.
Favorite fighter?
That one's tough. American?
Let's say American.
Okay. That narrows it down a little bit.
3, 2.
Pete Standinick.
Okay. Most underrated type of training?
Swimming.
Favorite Thai food?
Log.
Log. Favorite Muay Thai promotion?
Coalition.
Okay. One word of advice or one sort of piece of advice for fighters?
Listen to your coaches.
Do you find that happens that much?
No. It doesn't happen enough.
Okay. And then I know you have been out here you've been in Texas for a long time. Your gym, Ambush, started about 7 years ago?
As a gym. As a team, much longer.
And you have the 2 locations in San Antonio. You've done a lot for the sport, but let's talk a little bit about your matchmaking, because that's what brought you here to Houston today. And part of why I'm here, you're the matchmaker for Coalition Muay Thai, but you've also matchmaked for Texas Muay Thai, for other shows. How did you get into it?
So it just kind of happened naturally from me coaching, kind of learning, scouting a bunch of different fighters. I had so many active guys that I was just watching everything, and Jonathan Harris was the first one to put me on as a matchmaker for Texas Muay Thai. But then outside of that, I really just kind of reached out to promotions and offered my help, and just said if you ever had problems finding somebody to let me know, and just tried to help where I could, become a contact for them. And that way, if nothing else, if I didn't have somebody in my own gym, I would find somebody from Texas or somebody within the area to try to get them the opportunity, so it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you took the pretty classic and smart approach, do it for free until you get paid.
Yeah, that's how I did it with teaching and everything else, kind of pay for your education in the beginning, learn, put in sweat equity, then it always kind of pays off later.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. It's a hard lesson to learn because it takes a lot of time.
It does.
But it's relatively simple as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about matchmaking. I know you've been doing it for a while, and Patrick Rivera recommends you, Jonathan Harris, Mark Entenberg, a lot of different promoters and people in the game. What makes for a good match, and what are you looking for when you're matchmaking?
I look for a few things. Records don't mean very much to me, and I think that's where people make mistakes, is they just base off paper, right? They look at, oh, this guy's 3-0 and this guy's 3-0. But in Muay Thai, that could mean a million different things, right? That could mean, this guy could have 30 amateurs. This other guy could be an MMA guy that went pro and never had any amateur fights, right? And then started fighting his pro career. So the 3-0s aren't equal, So you really have to look at styles and experience. For me, I always try to put the real Muay Thai gyms first, right? You always kind of start with them and kind of build around that, But yeah, it's always styles, experience levels, but again, like real experience, not just their numbers, the numbers next to their name.
And then logistically, I know there's budgets that you're working with.
Right.
How important is like ticket sales and things like that?
It's extremely important. It's the most important, People have this thing in their head, right, where they think the promoters are like laughing all the way to the bank and they're penny pinching you anywhere that they can. And, there was a point I thought the same thing. When I started working with promoters and seeing the truth is I mean, it's really hard out here for a promoter, really, really hard, and they're doing it to give you an opportunity, right? So the least you can do is try to keep that thing afloat, right? I mean, you should go out of your way to try to sell as many tickets as you can. And if you want to be honest, your ticket sales are always going to dictate if you fight again. You know, if you're a big ticket seller in town, you will fight. You're going to fight, regardless of your record. Regardless, you're going to get an opportunity.
So if it takes selling tickets and moving the needle in terms of money, how can people do that? What have you seen sort of some common threads or common things that fighters do that are good at selling tickets?
Marketing, right? It always comes down to marketing. And of course, you know, it depends on, you know, geographically, if they're from the area, if they were raised there, if they have sometimes where they're working, you know, where some people work in clubs, DJs, things like that. I've seen them sell really well, but it's always going to be on you to get your fight out there. You know, you got to make people want to see you fight. And if you have friends, if you have family, you know, anybody around, they should all want to come to your fight, right? So it's all media, marketing, you know, they have to do their part. The promotions, sometimes they're just going to give you a flyer, right? And if that's all you have to work with, it's going to be hard to sell anything that way. I think also the gym you're at is important. You know, if the gym you're at knows that they need to be supporting the shows, that's really important. You know, at my own gym, if we have guys fighting, I say it all the time, you know, if you have the means to do it, if you can't even be there, buy a ticket and give it to somebody, right? Just support the show because we need them to come back. And it's a really important message that people have to understand, because even selling shows out, I've seen people lose, right? Like, I've never seen a promoter really walk away with a big win, you know? That was really tough out here.
I mean, it happens in Thailand even, you know, some of the big promotions, you know, I like One Championship a lot. There's some real pros and cons to them. Obviously built the sport up massively. Their weekly show, One Lumpini, still in the red. But on the other side of town, Raja Demnern and RWS are making money.
Right.
And it's a type of marketing, but it's also the location of the stadiums. There's a lot of things that go into it. It's not an easy game.
No, it's difficult.
Some of your fighters do sell tickets and do get match made very well. What have you seen happen because of that in their career?
So, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, if you're local, if you sell tickets, even if you're not local and you sell tickets, which I've actually seen on this show, if you want to be honest, I've seen it more on this coalition show, out-of-state fighters that are bringing 15 to 20 people in. You know, that's
a lot.
And it's happening. There's at least 3 or 4 of them that have done that from out of state. So
who are they?
So Drew Giggs has sold very well. We didn't expect that at all. And then Justin Burns sold very well, which we kind of expected. And we had a big following. You know, he's a popular coach, been around for a long time. I actually think he had family or something in the area as well. But yeah, he sold very well, outsold some of the locals. We also had Zach Ignacio, came out with a pretty good group from Florida. So yeah, very impressive.
So let's talk a little bit more about matchmaking. So ticket selling, you know, your fight experience and styles. Do you think there's other factors that go into matchmaking? Or would you say like styles / experience and ticket selling?
Yeah, I mean, size always plays a factor, right? There's some guys that are 6'3" and 147 pounds, you know, and depending on how they fight, you know, fighting someone that's a lot shorter, just knowing the way these guys fight and their attributes, you know, that also plays into it. But it is further down the line, you know, really. I mean, there's no such thing as a height class, right? So you got to learn how to fight taller guys, short guys. If there was, I think San Antonio would be king.
And obviously, you've worked with a lot of different promotions. This is something we talked about earlier. You've learned a lot through these learning, you know, each promotion is a learning experience.
Right.
What were some of the things you've learned working with the different promotions that you have worked with?
The importance of marketing, right? Marketing, also getting out in the community, really rallying support, not just putting up a poster and expecting everybody to show up. You know, you got to show face. I've always done it, even just as a matchmaker. Right? We did it today, right? We go around and see everybody. You want to be accessible. You want people to feel comfortable with you, right? So they actually trust your promotion, trust that you have their best interest, and you're not just throwing two people on a card, you know. So that, like I said, marketing, consistency, right? Staying like not really just bouncing a whole lot of new markets. I think it's smart to kind of stay in one place, build a home base, you know, build a following, and then start to move around.
And then let's talk a little bit about our road trip today, because for me it was really cool. We got to go to 3 different gyms. Obviously looked around the venue. We're at the venue, but tell me a little bit about the gyms we went to today, and then also maybe a little history of Texas Muay Thai, because I'm not from Texas.
Right. So we started off at Blacksmith, Ray Nizo's gym. That's in Sugarland area, you know, Sugarland, Richmond. But new gym. He's been open about a year now. He's been in the scene forever, you know, in Texas. This is gonna be his last fight. You know, he just wanted to represent his gym one time. He wanted to be on a big card, but he's also pulling double duty, right? Because he's also coaching Chase Martis for his biggest fight, which is going to be for the WBC regional title, and then also has another fighter, Jonathan Chook, who's also experienced, you know, probably another 10-fight guy on the undercard. So we went over there, hung out with him. We went after that. We went around the corner to Mark Beecher's gym in Katy. You know, got to hang out with him and his dog for a little bit. So always try to stop in when we can. Always a good time talking to Beecher.
You've obviously known Beecher, or known of Beecher for a while. What do you think you've learned from working with Beecher, and then what have you learned from just seeing Ray's career?
So with Beecher, you know, I think he's very rare, right? Personalities like his that are in this scene, you know, very brutally honest, you know, which I appreciate. I've always liked that about him. And you know, he's a world-class coach. He's been like, I think we're really lucky to have him here in Texas. You know, he's one of the main people here, you know, as far as coaching goes. Guys that have been around for a while, that have been at that level, you know, there's very few. And to have him here in Texas is a big addition for us.
Yeah, he's a real gem. I like him a lot. He doesn't take a lot of shit.
No, a great commentator.
Yeah.
You know, really good at what he does. You know, he just lives for the sport.
And then you said Ray's been around for a long time. What do you think you've learned from watching his career?
So, to be honest, these last few years, since we started kind of the movement here for Texas Muay Thai again, right? We kind of picked it up. Things have kind of died off for a little bit, like it tends to happen in Texas. And when we picked it back up, that's really when I got close with Ray, because he supported it right away. You know, wanted to be part of it. He fought on the first ones. And I mean, his longevity is 43.
Yeah.
You know, still active. He went from that. Seen him go from a coach to a gym owner. You know, still actively fighting, and now a high-level coach that travels around the world.
Yeah.
Right? And
I saw him in Italy.
Yep, and he was in Mexico as well.
Yeah.
Right, for the Pan Ams. So he's doing all this very quickly. To be honest, this is the last few years. I've just really seen him develop. You know, as a coach, business owner, and obviously he still has love for it, right? He still wants to get in the ring. To do that while you're training people and running a gym, very difficult.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to him a little bit, and he said, you know, he wants to inspire people. Mm-hmm. That if he can do it, his students can do it, other people can do it, and I like that attitude.
Leading by example.
I love people that lead by example. Speaking of examples, I also liked our last stop on our little day tour, Muay Thai Corner.
Yep, in Pasadena, so close to here.
Yep. Oh, it's Coach Izzy. What is the background on that? What do you know about the little gym in little Mexico?
Yeah, man, Coach Izzy's team. I like that team a lot. We've competed against them. watch them grow, really since C-class fighters. Watch them, they go to TBAs every year, they're always competing, they're always down to fight. Izzy has the right mindset with them, It doesn't protect him from from hard fights, they're always willing to compete. They always bring a crowd. It's always a lot of fun. They're always respectful. So, it's about everything you can ask for, But then watching, let's say Jesus, right? Jesus, we've seen him come up from like a C-class fighter to the Texas Muay Thai champ, and then the first one to ever defend his belt on the last show, and now we're seeing him compete for the WBC regional title, right? So we've got to see this ascension happen really quickly, but he's earned it. He has 15, 16 fights already. So yeah, he's been very active. Same thing with his whole team. They're always active. They support everything. They'll travel. They don't just wait for things to fall into their lap. And they're always a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, you'll see they have a big crowd. But yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool to see them progress as well.
Yeah, I liked when we were exiting the gym, he had a slew of little Latino guys,
Yep.
Probably 6 to 12, 10-year-old. They're little guys.
Yep.
Flipping tires,
lifting weights,
jumping weight. I was like, this is so cool. The future champions of tomorrow for sure.
Oh yeah, they're working out in the parking lot, running, doing all that stuff, and it's like then you see other programs where they're like bubble wrapped inside in the AC,
Yeah.
and it's like we're not fighting those kids. Those are the kids you want to fight.
Yeah, for sure. They're for sure those kids are going to turn out scrappy and determined.
They're going to scrap, 100%.
So I know you've not only made a lot of scraps, you've also cornered a lot of scraps and coached a lot of fighters. Can you tell me what you've learned from that? Because obviously you've worked with Pete Stanek for a long time. He got into Glory, Karate Combat, other things. Can you tell me maybe 3 to 4 things you've learned about coaching?
Yeah, well, so number one, you have to know your fighter, right? It's not a cookie cutter thing. You can't just, one size doesn't fit all, right? You have to know them. You kind of have to know what they're going through to understand why they're fighting, what they actually need. Again, I've never thought a coach was somebody who just taught their style and everyone fought the same style. I think a good coach will build off their attributes, what they do naturally, right? And then enhance that. So I think, getting to know them. Also say, holding them accountable, right? You got to hold them accountable, and you have to start that from the jump, right? From the beginning, they have to understand, because I am friends with my fighters. I don't draw a hard line, that they can't approach me, they can't do certain things, but they also know that, when it's time to compete, when it's time to train, and there's certain things that we just don't negotiate on, But outside of that, like I said, I'm pretty close with all of them. I know them all very well. It's super important to be able to understand them,
What are some of the highs you've seen and some of the lows?
Well, the high was winning, Pete Stanek winning the WBC belt, the national title, because to me that was never attainable. We were never looking to win one. We didn't even know how. If you want to go back 5-6 years, that was never on our list. Never was in our grasp. We didn't know how to do it because before it only really existed in Southern California and New York.
Yeah, and it was controlled by a few people over there. Mm-hmm. It was very rare.
Yeah, you had to be from the area to win it. And so that was huge. We'd all been given up on that, Like I said, it really wasn't in the plans. And then by the time he did finally get the fights that we've been wanting for so long, he was already, 36 years old. Whenever he was finally able to get the opportunities, and he took advantage. He took advantage. He had actually retired because of an injury that he had, and there was a WBC title shot that was 4.5 weeks out. Luke Leslie got called up to 1. So he stepped in. He pulled him off the couch, got him as good a shape as we could get in, and we went and fought, and it ended up being a really good fight for him. And then we followed up with fighting in San Antonio and winning the title. So it was two things, right? So it wasn't just winning the title, but we also got to win it at home in San Antonio, where there weren't shows in San Antonio before. They weren't even happening in Texas. So to win that at home, against a really good opponent in Zach Bonnell was definitely a high point, because like I said, it wasn't even in our head.
And then obviously, Pete, being some of your highs, there's the lows.
Yeah, lows are always, seeing people have to stop because of injuries. That's always kind of like see it ripped away from someone that was working for it, and just was out of their control. That's pretty much the worst of the lows for me. Seeing it just ripped from somebody who didn't do anything wrong, just the way it happens sometimes.
Something you touched on a little before was the importance of the WBC belt and how big of a deal it was. Can you tell me a little bit about your involvement with the WBC and what that's been like?
Yeah. So originally I came on as the rep for Texas, right? So I was just going to be the state rep. And I'll be honest, when I took the position, didn't even know what that meant, because there was no Muay Thai in Texas. So, I was like, well, that should be pretty easy. I don't even know what that means. So I did go out and start looking for a promoter to work with, and just figured we got to start somewhere. And we did, built a lot of the community through the MDLs, and got on with Dominion, right? They were like the first promotion to really come on with WBC in Texas and let us have that influence, bring those opportunities here. And it did, it made a big difference, and I think that it didn't take too long. I think another year or two, and then I became now the Southeast regional rep. So over this entire region now, plus Texas. And then we started working in Florida. So we kind of started from the ground up there. They have a lot of gyms. Not a ton of opportunities. There's only one promotion for the longest that was really the only one in the state, and now there's two. So just kind of growing it slowly. You can't do it all at once. We started with the officials courses, starting the MDLs there, and we've had some title fights there. We've done some things, haven't gone into the pros just yet, but we're working on growing that area first, and then we'll start to moving into other states as well.
And because of your matchmaking and work with WBC, you've also worked with a lot of promotions. Mm-hmm. And then do you see yourself promoting in the future? And what have you learned just on the promotional side of things? I know we talked about the ticket selling part, but what are some of the other maybe unknown things about promoting?
Well, I guess as far as becoming a promoter, I don't know. I was thinking down the line, that could be in the cards, but it seems like anytime I have a plan, something goes this way or that way. So I'm not sure where. I wear a lot of hats in Muay Thai, mm-hmm. right? I should probably wear less, but I would like to, as long as I'm involved, staying involved with the promotions. For me, coaching is my favorite thing. Everything we do for Muay Thai, right? That's really where my passion is. All the other stuff that comes with it, it's a lot of fun, but it all kind of plays into that, So losing my ability to coach as much because I'm having to do other things is a trade-off that I've been having to make, And yeah, I'm just still trying to kind of, honestly, still figure out my own path. Mm. I'm not sure where that's going to go. I'd like to be part of promotions. I like working with them. I don't know that I necessarily want to promote myself.
That makes sense. I think a couple things. One is, I think at this stage in the sport, those of us involved need to be wearing a lot of different hats.
Right.
Because the sport hasn't grown to a point where we can specialize. It needs sort of hardcore generalists. People that are like good at matchmaking, mm-hmm. plus good coaches, plus good at marketing. In the future, okay, those specific jobs will open up more, I think.
Yeah.
But
too.
right now, you need to have like a good generalist skill set.
Yeah, you got to be able to, like you said, wear many hats, kind of move around, play your part. You know, like I said, I've always just kind of been willing to help, and whatever that meant was just kind of what I did, you know.
The other thing we sort of talked about was coaching and how much you like it. Why do you like it, and what have you learned from coaching? Because I know you've coached for over 7 years. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, you know, coaching, it goes back a long time with me. You know, even when I was young, I was always kind of coaching in some capacity. I think I like the personal aspect of it. Like I said, I really, you know, getting to know that person, kind of going through the ups and downs with them, figuring out the puzzle with them, you know, whatever the next opponent is, you know, what do we need to do, what do they do well, and like I said, just kind of having that separate relationship with each person. Because, you know, when you're teaching big classes and you're doing this, you don't get the time to really get to know every single person, you know. You can't, it's not possible. So when it comes to the fight team, very selective. I mean, our gym, if you look at the numbers, I would say it was like 3% compete. You know, so large majority of the gym doesn't compete at all, doesn't want to. So the ones that we do have, like I said, there's probably about 10 active guys right now. It used to be a lot bigger. It's kind of shrunk down, and you know, everybody's getting older, doing different things now. But yeah, I think just kind of the personal aspect of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the relationships is what makes this all very fun.
Right.
We talked a little bit, or maybe I did, about the future of the sport and what we think is going to happen. For you, what do you think is going to happen? Let's start with Texas, and then the States in, let's say, the next couple of years.
Next couple of years, I mean, I think we're just going to slowly continue to grow. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to blow up. I mean, we might have already done that. You know, we're still growing. I think we're going to see more promotions. Actually, I know that. We're seeing more people get their license going through the state. I know Washington Luis just got a promoter's license in San Antonio, so we'll have something kind of a hometown, yeah, regional. And then Texas Muay Thai Championships. You know, we've been the ones that started it. You know, really started this generation, right? There's been times in the past where we've had shows, but it really just dried up for a long time. And, you know, figuring things out with the commission, getting trained officials is something that we've never had before, and we've been working on that diligently for 3 years now. And like I said, you'll actually see tomorrow we have a good amount of officials that have actually been through the training, because before, you know, the commissions are going to assign whoever they want. And they don't have a Muay Thai course. They have boxing, they have MMA, but nothing specifically for Muay Thai. And that's, I mean, it's the biggest problem in America, in my opinion, is that all the commissions are that way. But to be fair to them, they also haven't had a lot of a reason, because Muay Thai shows haven't been around and stuck around. That's actually something Texas, like the Texas Commission said when we were demanding officials. They were like, okay, well, there's been like one show in like 10 years. And, you know, you're like, fair. You know, fair.
For sure,
what can you say? So now that we've been consistent, what we really need is we just need more of it. We need more of it. And I think that, you know, I'd love to see a show in Dallas really step up and take over, and we just have the three main areas going, you know, and then maybe one big show like Coalition or something that will come in and do the pros and the amateurs, you know, and give them that spotlight. Because, you know, if we get too many of them here and they're not all on the same page, then they're just going to cannibalize each other, and we just can't have that here. There's no way. Right now, all the promoters here have always worked together. I mean, you see the promoters working on each other's shows here. You know, you don't really see that in other places. So everybody's in.
Yeah,
if you're
Jonathan Harris, our favorite cowboy.
Yep.
Loud Texan. It's like he's going to be working on the show tomorrow. And
yep. He did the same thing for Dominion.
Yeah.
If he can ever be a resource for anyone, he sends the rules over to Washington. Like, really, he was the one that started this whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know, we needed somebody that stubborn. We needed somebody that's stubborn to come in and just figure it out. Yeah. You know, and But he's always willing to help. You know, if, like I told you before, the reason we don't have as many Texas Muay Thai championships right now is because there's other promotions coming in. And he's always welcomed that. He's always wanted that. So we've been the same the whole time. You know, we just really want opportunities here. It doesn't have to be coming from us. And but yeah, I mean, he proves that. He'll be here at 8 a.m. to set up the ring and, you know, help out any way that he can.
Yeah, I like that attitude a lot. So wrapping things up, I know, you know, we have things to do, a bar to get drinks from. Where can people find you, and is there anything else you wanted to talk about we didn't get a chance to talk about?
No, I think my brain isn't working anyways because of Coalition right now. So
busy man over here.
Yeah, I mean, come see me in San Antonio, right? We have 2 locations at Ambush there. We have 2 up in Austin as well. Besides that, anything Muay Thai in Texas, I'll be there.
Awesome. And so for people interested in following along with you on the internets?
Yep, so Instagram is Bobby at Ambush Muay Thai, Ambush MT. I've just changed it.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm not anything else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bobby, for taking your time out. And for those of you out there in internet land that are interested in learning more, watching more about the sport, you can probably watch a video around here. Thanks.
Yep.